and cheap wine. We gather around the mic, just killing time. Tales of glory days, now long behind. A podcast of dads who lost their minds. We reminisce on the good old days when we had hair and our bodies didn't ache. Now we're just middle-aged guys.
This week, the Time Pals welcome a very special guest and one of the most well-known, hey, this movie has that guy in it, actors in Hollywood. Our guest's career spans decades, famously working with nearly every generation of action star, from the muscle-bound monosyllabic era of Sylvester Stallone to the muscle-bound Boston syllabic era of Mark Wahlberg, and effectively being on your favorite show and often threatening its biggest star. We're looking at you, Gregory Hines. It's our great honor to introduce the Time Pals podcast, Gregory Scott Cummins. For those listening to us for the first time, we are a podcast of dads who decide to spend our middle ages reminiscing about geek cultures and the days when our bodies didn't ache. I am Mike _, and with me are most of your Time Pals, starting with Nickel.
Hello.
And John Powell.
Good evening.
And somewhere ShadoSpartan, if he shows up, I'm going to make sure that Greg fucks with him hard. So in any case. So first off, Greg, thank you for coming onto the show and indulging us while we hyperventilate through our many questions. I assure you that every microphone, as you can already see, is covered in a thick layer of protective saliva. I don't want to create flashbacks of all your conventions, but obviously there's no way we can contain our fanboyness. I know we kind of talked a little bit before we recorded, but I'm actually in a unique position where I'm not as familiar with Bosch and seeing like 15 It's Always Sunny episodes. So my co-hosts are going to kind of take that over. For me, though, my earliest, fondest memories of you is your character AWOL from Stone Cold.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, no, for real. But basically, growing up, my family stole cable proudly. And no, for real, I'm not even kidding. And some of the earliest movies were those kinds of action movies. That means that I 100% know you as that character, as that guy. In this situation, I remember you very distinctly as the helicopter pilot AWOL and staring Brian Bosworth in the face in Stone Cold, and you made his chicken ass like not fight you. I'm sure he's still alive, but that dude threw a motorcycle into your helicopter like a fucking coward. He didn't want none of Greg. Wanted none of it.
Yeah, he was just a wimp. Yeah.
See? That's what I thought. That's what I'm saying. So y'all don't know. I recognize Greg.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So in previous interviews, you described yourself as a blue collar actor, someone whose craft had to be nurtured and forged through stage, studying, performing virtual and every type of theater, Greek, Roman tragedies, Shakespearean comedies. You mentioned that you would do these events where you would have to do one type of theater performance and the next day do another type of theater performance. Like we're talking major plays, Amadeus and Hamlet and whatnot. It just absolutely incredible. And then in 1986, when your television and film career started, you primarily did much of your own stunts. You put your body and brain on the line the same way you did when you were a football player. And I'm not sure if you guys know, but he played for the San Diego Chargers before getting a leg injury that ended his punting career. He actually had a scholarship in college.
Short while. That was cut real short.
Yeah. And I do all of that just to start off with my first question, which is, how the hell did you end up on Snoop Dogg's Murder Was the Case?
My good looks.
So you guys, I don't know if you guys know, but he plays the devil that Snoop Dogg makes a deal with to come back from the dead. I was in middle school when that album and VHS movie came out. This was back when that genre was super new and dangerous, and that video actually moved around. It was like, I remember seeing the video as an adult, and I had no idea you were the devil. We have this opportunity to get you on the show, and I went, son of a bitch. He's resurrecting Snoop Dogg.
Yeah,
I see. I wasn't allowed to have access to that type of material. That was considered too scary for my family.
That was MTV, and that was big in those days. The early 90s, still the late 80s, 90s, and what was it, early mid 90s, and it would air like 30 times a day on MTV.
Right,
and they had a short, medium, and long version.
Yes,
and it ended up winning Video of the Year award. A lot of people recognizing me from that. They kind of like.
Wait, did you get a trophy?
No.
Did you get any sort of trophy?
No.
Come on.
No. No, but that's when I didn't know what, Snoop and Dre, and I didn't know what to call him when I first met him. It's just, I wasn't.
Mr. Dog?
Yeah.
Mr. Dog.
Are you Dr.
What do I call it?
Dr. Dre or Mr. Dre?
Is it MD, DDS? What is the PhD?
Yeah, no, that was quite an experience, but it was a lot of fun.
How long does something like that take? Like, was that you're on one day and you knock it out, or was it a multi-day thing for you?
I think that was, they shot a lot they had about a video going for about 18 minutes, and it had a lot of people in it, a lot of stuff going on. They had different locations. So that was about a week,
Okay.
week, maybe a little over a week. Most things don't take that long for a video, but this was Snoop and Dre. So they didn't mess around. They did
Right.
big time stuff. So,
Right. They did the whole, Dre and Tupac did the whole like Mad Max
California
California
Love,
Lovin'
yeah.
video.
Oh, yeah,
How epic was that video? But I actually do have a question about the time it takes to shoot something. I got about 1,000 questions I want to ask about It's Always Sunny.
I just say before you ask the question, because you mentioned Tupac, it was interesting because very shortly after that, I did a what was it called? A film with Jim Belushi and Tupac Shakur, gang related, and so I worked spottily on that. My character kind of went throughout, and it kind of ended the movie where I killed. Well, I shouldn't give it away for people, but
Oh my God.
but
I feel like
Spoiler
the
alert.
statute of limitations has passed on that, Greg. I think
but
you
the last day on the set was a Friday wrap shot for the whole film, and it was shooting in the courtroom scene with Jim Belushi and Tupac Shakur.
Oh, okay.
And he was the sweetest, nicest, friendliest guy. Just nice, just kind, eager to get to know. He had such a career ahead of him. And 2 days later, he was shot in Vegas.
Wow, 2
No
days later.
way.
Yeah, that was,
Wow.
and 2 days later, he was shot. And we
No way.
were pretty devastated. But it just finished on the set with him, working all day Friday into the evening, and then the whole film wrapped, and then 2 days later was a Sunday in Vegas. But so that was. But I just wanted to say that because we talked about Snoop and Dre.
Yeah, there's an alternate history where you're part of Death Row.
Death Row Records.
There's an alternate history. You've got the chain.
And you should hear me rap. It's so.
I assume it's amazing.
It's so bad, but it's bad in a good way.
got it. Yep.
Bad. No, it's bad. It's not in a good way. It's funny.
I can't follow up your story with my question.
Well,
It's too good of a story.
well, we could just sit here and look at each other,
All right. I'm gonna cleanse the palate here. All right. So, I mean, I do level out all of my questions. I had to cut out like thousands of questions down to just one question about It's Always Sunny.
Okay.
Okay. Because I could talk to you for hours.
Well,
about
and I
It's
could
Always
talk for
Sunny.
hours too. So you probably your questions I could go on, but
So in the episode, Dennis looks like a registered sex offender.
yes.
In that dinner scene
Oh yeah.
where Luther and Mac and Charlie, Frank and Mac's mom and Charlie's mom
Yeah,
all
that
sitting around the table.
that was a funny episode.
How long did that take you guys to shoot?
Oh, that a lot of camera movement around the table, but they had multiple cameras. So,
But I mean, like, how many takes?
oh well, you got your wide shot at one angle, and they're going to have a wide shot at another angle, and then you're going to come in for your 2 shots and 3 shots at the table, and they might come in for a single. With another camera. We ran through it, whether it was a wide shot or 2 or 3 shot over the shoulder, or whether it was single shots of everybody around the table. We went through it at least.
So you guys had a lot of breaks, like to break up the laughter?
Yeah, I mean, we did it at least, maybe 60, 70, 80 times all the way.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
But that's in between all the takes where we were cracking up.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite scenes in all of the series. And that's why I'm like, God, I can't even imagine how hard that would be to take,
To keep a
to
straight
shoot
face.
that. To shoot that. How hard would that be?
Well, yeah, hard for directors to keep track of the camera and, and cover everybody. And you want to,
Right.
and then we go through it. They learn how to shoot pretty quick, with handheld cameras and move it around and, take it from here and here. It's not all fixed camera movements where you have
Right.
to reset everything. Sometimes you can just swing out and catch him this way and then swing into here. But the director figures out, how they're going to shoot it and all that. But
For sure.
really, I want to call them the character names, but Glenn Howerton and Charlie. I'm my age is
Rob.
Thank you, McElhaney. Yeah, they're so great in those early seasons. Well, all the seasons they would direct all the episodes themselves. The last maybe 7 or 8, 9 seasons, they bring in a guest director. But in the beginning, for the first decade, whoever was in the scene, they would just whoever wasn't in the scene, they would just kind of direct it. And, they have a good director of photography. And
That is
give
so
you
cool.
their notes and they kind of directed as a team, and they wrote it all themselves. They performed all their roles and asked everybody. And then they did the directing while they were shooting at the same time, just passing it off and giving each other suggestions and working like as a real ensemble.
Yeah, that is, and it shows. It really shows.
So, and if they think of something funny on the moment and they didn't think of it before and it isn't in the writing, somebody will throw out, hey, do it this way or do it this way or do this, try this.
Right.
And Charlie and Rob and Glenn, they're always throwing new things out just to crack everybody up to make it funnier. Anything they can think of at the spur of the moment, they just kind of do it. And usually it's hard to keep a straight face when somebody does something new or says something new. But then if it worked, then they'll reshoot that take, then everybody has to not crack up. But it's just a lot of fun working with those.
Yeah.
It's just
God, I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine how fun that would have been.
Yeah, it's just play. It's like you're not even working when you're working with those guys. They're so talented. It's so much fun being on the set, and the whole crew's wonderful. I mean, it's just an incredible environment to work with.
One more quick question, and then I'll pass it off to John. But when people recognize you in public, what do they yell at you?
Oh,
Do they yell like, "Hey, Mac's dad," or "Detective Moore"?
well, it's not like, this big, huge A-grade movie star where people are just, but I do occasionally get through the years if something's on movies and just come out, or I'll get the people are a little more, where I live in LA, people are more hesitant about bothering you and stuff like that. So they just kind of, they'll either just come up and say, hey, Crate, or hey, Luther, or
Okay.
like that. And then I know they've seen the show, or they'll just kind of be very subtle and said, excuse me, I hope I'm not bothering you. You're on TV, right? You're that, and I go, yeah, and I make them feel cool. It's not all that. It's every once in a while, and it's always very.
Yeah, it's out of love,
Oh yeah, it's just very flattering, and nobody. I don't get too much of, because I've been a chameleon all my career, so I really haven't had anything regular except for these last series, Bosch, which is 7 years, and then Bosch Legacy years, going on 3, and then Sonny's been on and off 16 years, but then I don't always look like that with the slick back hair and the goatee anymore. I kind of clean shaven face, but some people still recognize me, or they'll hear my voice and they'll kind of go, something like that.
I mean, do you ever give anybody those crazy Luther eyes where you're
sure.
like,
Yeah.
where you're like, I ordered soy milk?
Well, when I see they like that type of character and all that, I'll just hang out and I'll just, give them a little, what do you know about smuggling heroin? That little psycho stare.
Well, I wasn't going to kill you, but I am now.
That makes me think, this isn't my question, but just given the colorfulness of Luther as a character, and I'm probably going to blank on the name of the company that does it, but it's the ones where you can pay and have a celebrity do a video message.
Cameo.
Cameo. Okay. Cameos from Luther?
Well, I did that actually for about a year. And I was doing it, and just, and they would say, okay, I had some funny ones. I got to admit that that somebody says, I got my buddy at work and we're going to play it up on a video for his birthday. And I want you to just destroy him. I want you to call him a piece of shit. I want you to, just say horrible things about him. And I just kind of came up with some stuff on video and put it in, and they played it, and it was pretty funny and then I'd yell at him as Luther and something like that. Sometimes it would be fun, but it was getting in the way of my work, and sometimes you prepare something for it, and it would take a while to get the names down and what you were going to say to get the right take. You might spend some time on it, and then you charge people for it. And I always it's like people who go to the autograph shows where they give pictures out and they autograph. It's just I'd rather do that stuff for people, just not for I don't do that myself. I don't do that.
Right.
I won't charge people for it.
Yeah, you're willing to take the time for somebody who's a fan and give them a memory.
And most of the actors, they all do. It's just that I came from the sports, and that would be like Willie Mays or Gaylord Perry up in San Francisco, or Willie McCovey, or them charging you for autographing your baseball or something. They do that back then. I remember waiting at the Sports Unlimited store in Orinda. Gaylord Perry was showing up, and he just did it. They didn't pay him to do it. He just came for 3 hours and signed all the kids' baseballs and things like that. You just did, because you remember when you were a kid and you looked up to these athletes or whatever. So it's not like I compare myself to the athletes, but we made our money, and I do it for friends or things like that now. And I just don't do it online where people pay for it.
Well, we appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there again.
And I given you my mailing address for the check that you're going to be mailing me?
No, I lost it. Sorry. Don't.
The whole 7 cents in royalties that you'll get off our.
I lost the mailing address.
What was we talked about, like 4,000 or 5,000, was it something like that?
No, I lost your mailing address.
Oh.
So I can't send you the check. Sorry.
That's why I haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah. No, I lost it.
The Post-it that I have, though, says it's in rubles. I don't know what the conversion rate is there.
Or pesos. That would be really good.
John, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have one, and it's going to focus on Luther and Detective Moore and yourself.
Uh-huh.
So 3 very different, I will say, characters, despite you being you, but you seem to be a bit of a character yourself, just like we all are. If you were to design a music playlist for yourself, for Luther, and for Detective Moore, what do you think some of the standout artists would be on each of those playlists?
Oh my God, that's an insanely good and difficult question. Wow.
Wow.
It's just going to be growling,
really
isn't it?
good.
It's just going to be angry growling for 2 hours.
Well, it's funny. Sometimes when I used to go to auditions and I was playing bad guys, and I'd be happy and all that, and then you just got to get in the mood. I'd slick the hair back and have the goatee beard. I just slower my movements, lower my voice a little bit. I need to get a little just mean, intimidating. Just let it exude through me. I used to put these, Purple Haze and some of the real hard rock songs on the radio when I was driving to auditions, just to get me in. And I used to do it before football games, to psych me up, to get
Right.
the tide, in a. So as far as Luther, I think Luther, I don't listen to that. What's the headbanging music? That's that crazy music where people just.
Oh yeah, like not even Metallica. Metallica's tame compared to those, but
the
real heavy metal stuff.
Yeah, I think Luther would be into that really crazy, screaming, insane music. Well, there's a word for it. I just can't.
Like death.
There's
death
a lot
metal?
of like death metal.
Yeah, kind of, but I wouldn't get all high and like the people, who used to bang up against each other in rooms and
Yeah, mosh
I'd
pit.
just be like low key and calm.
Kind of letting the anger and the loudness wash over you.
Yeah, just kind of psycho music, just like kind of. As far as Crate, I gotta say, probably a character. I played hundreds, thousands. I don't know how many characters I played in my career and auditioned as characters. Accents changed my thing. That character in Bosch was probably they had to rein me in from being too goofy, but that's probably more like me than any character I've ever played.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
Just taking some of the extra goofiness that I have in real life out. But some of the stuff is, finding humor in things, wanting to laugh, goof around. But you have moments where you have to be really serious, like
Right.
cops do. It's life and death. But then other times that's why the humor, it's like people that I've talked to that go to war. I mean, it's, it's intense when it has to be. Your life is in danger, but then the relief of that tension, people get zany and crazy and goof around like mad, and cops are kind of the same. Some cops are the same way, and that's what I just used in the characters. I just kind of used a good part of myself more than I have with any other character. So as far as music, I wouldn't know as far as rate. I mean, the character, gosh,
Well, then what do you like?
Yeah, what do you
Because
like? Yeah, exactly.
I like a lot of stuff. I mean, I like hard rock. I like soft rock. I love pop. I even grew to like rap. I love R&B. I love classical music. I love opera. I never went to concerts when I was young. I didn't have to be amongst the crowd of people listening to a live musical event, but I just loved listening to music, and it was a huge part of my life through all the years. So, I just like a lot of different things, and I love the Irish lilting, like Enya and Clannad, the whispery, the
Almost supernatural type of.
it's almost spiritual. It's just
I mean, everything you just named out is like you're a man after my own heart. I swear.
well, yeah,
I have such an eclectic taste in music. Everything you named, I was like, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
I love
I'm on board.
love
Yes.
a lot of country too now too. I mean,
Yep.
I thought this was a little before when I was growing up. It was the electric guitars and it was the real twangy, and now it's country rock. It's country mellow. I love ballads. I love beautiful songs. And also too, there's some great modern. So I used to put down. I'd say, after the '90s, the '80s music ended, or '70s or '60s music ended, but it didn't. There's some incredible singers out through the years. Just even recently, some of these female singers are just amazing. I'm not somebody to just crank the music up at home, but I listen to it a lot when I'm driving.
Yeah, it's more quiet background at home if I'm doing it.
Yeah,
I can totally understand that though, getting in the mood.
yeah.
I don't go in for auditions, but I can understand getting in the mood for the
Hey,
day.
just look at if you have something emotional and dramatic and touching, and put on, Ice Castles or some beautiful song from a movie that was just so touching, or a theme song from Titanic, or whatever. Well up listening to some beautiful song, but it's the same way if you want to do something aggressive, or if you're working out, man. I'm cranking the hard rock. I got to get psyched to do my stuff. That's the best way I can answer that.
No, I mean that's great. I
That's
appreciate. That's
perfect.
what we're here for. Is the way you would answer them. We have the questions we created, and we're here to see what you answer. Go for it, Mike.
I was just going to say, to kind of go back to what you were talking about before, how your different characters would have a different form of music. You're getting different mind spaces, different head spaces.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of amazing to me because I've seen photos, or at least I've seen a photo of you in your football days. You had the long hair, the action figure style body. For all intents and purposes, you look like the typical movie star good guy. So when did you realize you first had a talent for playing a villain? Like, when did you basically, go, hey, I'm built to attack Batman in an alleyway? Like, when did you...
Underscore. Are you trying to sleep with him?
Yes.
Yeah.
The answer is raw. Next question.
That took me aback, but I'll let that go.
Sorry.
It's funny. When I was in graduate school, when I was in undergraduate and younger, I'd always get the leads in this, Shakespeare, whether it was Hamlet or Orlando and As You Like It, or just Benedict and Much Ado About Nothing. I was always playing the romantic lead, or the dashing, cocky, gregarious lead, or whatever. When you train as an actor, when I was in school, I get away with a lot of stuff, where I just kind of did that a lot. But in graduate school, they said, we're not going to let you do anything here in these next 2 years that's, leading man stuff. You're going to do characters. We're going to have you play old people, quirky people against type. We're going to push your boundaries. And all the roles that I did through the 6 years of undergraduate and all that, people were pushing boundaries as well, and I was always trying to play different kinds of characters. But that really drilled it in, and the training just gets you to explore every aspect of yourself. You break down the barriers that we have in life. Some people they have a hard time yelling. Well, I was Italian, so it was easy. But maybe it's crying, letting your emotions out. And I still got a barrier against that, but. They push the boundaries of your emotional psyche, and you have to explore yourself deeply. And it's just figuring, I don't, when I play bad guys, I say bad guys, but, if I'm playing a character, anybody could be put in a situation where, let's say, somebody killed my mom, and I'm playing a real bad guy character, but let's say he didn't just kill my mom, but they tortured him before she died and raped her. Or maybe they, cut her toes and fingers off one at a time, and so, when I go into something, if I put that in my mind, I'm not just going to hurt some or kill them, but I'm going to make them suffer and I'm going to enjoy it. Anybody could have that. It's play acting, but it's just creating a reality in your mind that allows you to play different than your choices that you might do in real life.
What's funny about that is I'm a big pro wrestling fan. I'm probably the only one in this entire Time Pals group that actually watches pro wrestling.
Yes, you are.
I know. I know. Flair is a very famous heel, right? And he will say the same thing where it doesn't matter what he does to try to win a match. He justifies it in his brain that he is not acting as a bad guy. He's acting as somebody who believes that he's better and he deserves to be champion, and I need to win any means necessary because I cannot let you, who I don't respect, be a champion. It's the same kind of vibe of like, I might be a bad guy on paper, but if you have all of that, what you're bringing into the table of like, well, what made me this way? How am I going to justify the things I'm going to do? Because nobody just exists in that bubble.
And everybody has a perspective, so you whatever that is, you create it for whatever character, and you use whatever part of you that you need to fill a character, and then you leave the other parts of it that don't fit that character out. And that's where the training comes in, and that's where the versatility comes, as you learn how to. And it's not just the emotional parts you keep in or cut out, but it's also changing your physical, how you're standing, how you're walking, how you're moving, your physical appearance. You can become, and the more experienced you are, the more you can change that stuff up. And there's no one way to do it and find what works. But as far as how it moved to me career-wise, is I was kind of the leading man kind of coming in and doing the first non-union films. I was playing the Mel Gibson Lethal Weapon kind of
See, Nickel? See?
What?
It's whatever.
No, I think he's a great villain. I think he does a beautiful villain. In fact, I think he is a less villain. He's even more of a hero than Glenn Howerton's Dennis. I think he is more of a good person than Dennis in It's Always
Nobody's
Sunny.
really redeeming on Sunny, but
yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I'm not sure if I would call anybody hero.
Can I jump in though, because you just mentioned that you started off playing like you used the kind of the Mel Gibson Lethal Weapon type character as
Harrison
a descriptor.
Ford, Star Wars, the early, and I started playing those. But then what happened is, when I got into TV and film, I'm 6'4".
Mm-hmm.
So every time I was clean shaven and I went in as the semi-attractive leading man character, you're either going to get it big and get a show of your own, but there was no spot for me as a sidekick. I made all the stars look short except for a few people. I wouldn't get hired. I spent my first 9 months just doing non-union film. I didn't work at all until I realized that you're too tall. They don't want to stand next to you. And then there was a weird time in the business where, certain things politically and socially worked for me. And I kind of figured it out that casting directors, you got to give them the picture that looks like the character they're casting. In theater, I could just give them a regular shot and then play two characters completely different. And then you can use makeup and wigs and do all that. And they know you can play anything. Well, in theater, TV, and film, casting directors need to have it right in their room to feel secure enough to cast with you. And once I figured that part of the game out, then I had 8-10 different pictures made up, and bad guy, rugged, good guy, or psycho, whatever, as different looks, appearances. And then there was a period of time there where in the late 80s, it became kind of politically incorrect for black guys to play bad guys like they did in the 60s and 70s. So what happened is they were getting cast in roles in series finally, like it should be. That when the door opened up for the bad guys to be white guys instead of black guys or Hispanic guys, I worked for the first 20 years like a madman.
Wow.
I realized I scummed my head. I grew the beard growth, or then eventually the goatee, and then I just never stopped working.
And then all the pieces just kind of come together, and then you kind of collect everything.
Then it was hard because I was just doing accents, playing European, Irish, German, Russian, whatever. And so I was working a lot, but not getting really known at one thing.
Well, considering your early career, then let me ask you this. So you've been in a lot of TV shows that are based off movies, your RoboCops, Lethal Weapons, Time Cop, all that good stuff. Each one of those is like a remake that had good intentions, but for some reason needed extra love, or the fan base wasn't like along for the ride. If you could go back and remake one of your earliest ones, re-release it for a brand new audience, why is it Hack-O-Lantern and not Action USA?
Oh, I left that movie off my resume for my entire career.
I know. I remember.
have to admit, I haven't seen Hack-O-Lantern.
You haven't missed anything. Don't watch it. It's not even worth it.
Come on, no, don't sell yourself short.
This audience has picked up on these 1980 horror things and the low budget 80s and early 90s films that that were slower budgeted and I didn't even get paid for Hack-O-Lantern. It was just my first film, and it was for free. I figured I did a lot of free theater for years, so I figured I needed to learn how to work with the camera, so I used that as a learning tool, and it helped, but it was pretty bad. I mean, the director didn't even speak English. He's directing a film in English, and he didn't even understand English. So it was kind of goofy. But horror slasher Action USA, I think it's great. A lot of people still love that movie, and it was shot in Waco, Texas, and it was one of I think the third or fourth film that I did, something like that. But it was just a great group of guys. I'm still in touch with a bunch of them now. And
Oh, no way. Cool.
yeah, I don't know why Hack-O-Lantern.
It made its comeback. It's slowly starting to come back on like little clips and stuff like that.
I mean, it's
It's time. It's time to bring back
Well,
Hack-O-Lantern.
they got people playing it in theaters in different parts of the country.
Exactly.
Some other things like BG Girls or Blood Games, or, some of these horror low budget things.
Yeah.
People just are hokey. They're not scary. They're just funny.
Yeah.
Scary,
And it's right in that wheelhouse of like your Evil Dead. Not people really are loving and almost paying tribute to a lot of the 70s, 80s kind of B horror movies. And they're loving them.
Well, it's kind of like Johnny Depp won the Academy Award, I think, or maybe it won Best Picture for Ed Wood. And he played this 1930s or 1940s horror director, but it was great.
So between horror and action, what was your preferred genre, especially considering like the mentality you have?
Well, I'm not a horror guy. I like watching action films. I don't watch horror films. I mean, if it's really spooky, like if it's like Wait Until Dark, a long time ago when I was young, or it's something like what was The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis, or something like that. It's really well done. I love that, but I'm not a slasher.
Real quick, I want to say, I think Ryan's death in Cliffhanger was probably the coolest 90s action movie.
Should have been the ending death. It really should have been the ending death.
One
of
of
the movie.
it was the coolest 90s action movies death I've ever seen.
It was fun. They cut like 2.5 pages of dialogue that I had with them because they were running 3 months behind.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Oh,
How did you even fight with Sylvester Stallone, being that like your height versus his height? I mean, he's probably like my height.
well, he's been doing fight scenes, rock, all that, guys.
Yeah, he already took out Ivan Drago, right?
Yeah, exactly. We kind of owe him democracy.
He's a pro. He knows the stuff. He's great. It's like working with just the best stuntman you'd ever work with, and where we could just do stuff and not choreograph everything all the time. We could just, because we were all aware of what we were doing, but they did an interesting thing is that they, to get the close-up shots, they were sliding down and then off the abyss. We were in Italy, and they had 5, 200-yard sound studios that were built up with the sets of the mountains in the studios. And one of the airplanes was in one of the studios, so they could shoot interior and exterior airplane shots. And another was the mountains, and another was the caves. And so for the sliding scene, they put, I don't know how many pounds of thick, grainy salt on a stage that was, like a auditorium stage where, your high school auditorium, you have a stage about 4 feet off the ground, whatever. And so they put like 200 yards of salt, thick, 1.5 foot of salt, hooked a car up, and
No, they didn't.
oh yeah, they turned. Well, to get close-ups, you can't slide down a mountain. They turned the camera sideways,
Oh
like we
no!
were going down, and it was a truck, and the arm was, and we were on cardboard, like 6 by 5 feet of cardboard that was underneath the salt that we were laying on, and the truck then each take would just move forward at a certain for 200 yards, and we'd be doing all this and him on top, and then we'd go back and do it again, and then it's turning the upside down in the face.
Wow.
And well, that's how you have to do it. But so if you look at the movie, everything that has a close-up is shot in studio. Everything that's a farther away shot is shot. You can't put a camera out there in the middle of the air, 13,000 foot cliff.
It's a good thing that it's a good thing that it didn't. All that salt didn't ruin your great looks.
Yeah, well, it got in our eyes. We did tease each other a lot because I know that he enjoyed laying on top of me a lot.
You got to get comfortable, man.
On top of him, and he laying out, and I have to go in for the new shot. I'd go, oh, baby. So we had a lot of fun goofing around with that because what can you do but make fun of it,
So I have a couple of more fun questions, but I have one that I really, it's just as another thinker.
Hey,
another thinker. That's all right.
I hate you.
So
Okay.
it's all right. Everybody hates me.
John's got great questions.
So it's a bit of a almost, I want to say, like a fan casting type of thing. And you mentioned it, which really made me say that I want to do this as a question, which was Lethal Weapon. But I absolutely picture you in almost like if Grumpy Old Men were a buddy cop flick type of thing. Who would you love to have as your partner in a buddy cop flick?
To be Troy Evans, who plays Beryl. I mean, we spent 10 years together working as a team, and it was just magical, So and we each year, I mean, the minute we met and we were working on set together, and we never knew each other before, just showing up there and doing the first scene, and we just clicked, and from then on, it's just the friendship grew, the working together as actors, and their characters started becoming more delineated, and it was so natural, so easy. It's so talented, and we just developed this incredible rapport. I would absolutely, in fact, I would love to do a series with Troy as Crate and Barrel. They have to okay that, but or we'd have to play some other characters or something. But our rapport is great, and there's a lot of Troy Evans in barrel, and there's a lot of Greg Cummins in crate. So it's like we're not even working
That's awesome. I love to hear that stuff. That's really cool.
through what we've been through with that show and what he and I have gone through together on that. It's such.
Well, yeah, that's like a Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau kind of thing.
So if anybody out there, any network or streaming service wants to do a old guy buddy thing,
You're wasting your time. No, none of them are listening to us.
Golden Girl.
We're the number one podcast for divorced dads that play video games. So we're not. I don't know
It's
how
good,
well we're
though.
going to do
They
with that
could hear-
group.
Find out.
You never
Find
know.
out.
You never
And,
know.
they have a network does series for older people. They had the Golden Girls. Tom Selleck is older. He's got Blue Bloods, and he's got their set on. They don't that 18-25 demographic across the board.
And if somebody's looking for a new Kermit the Frog,
have our Kermit sidekick, which would be perfect.
yeah, I think we'll work it out. We'll write the script, okay? Pitch it to the studio.
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, but
That's
that
awesome.
question was easy.
I'm happy it was, and I probably should have taken that into consideration, but for some odd reason in my head I didn't equate the amount of time you've been on Bosch and been working with him as that amount of time and it makes so much sense.
This was my first experience, having something regular, playing this character with someone else and another group of people for that long. That's what felt like theater for me is why I love theater so much, is that you could do a show for 3 or 4 straight months or run it for a year or whatever. And you really bond with people. So I had that experience with Bosch a lot. And then Troy was a huge part of that for me because we just worked together and we created, I think, a great on-camera relationship, and we really bonded that way, and we bonded in real life too. So, he's very jealous that I'm better looking than he is, but then...
Well, yeah, as he should be. As he should be.
Other qualities that his wife seems to love for some reason.
And as you said at the beginning, with everything going on in the world, isn't looking very good the most important thing.
Suffering and starvation and war and pestilence in the world. What does it all matter as long as you're good looking? Yeah.
That's right.
That's my model, and that's the way I live my life. Yeah, right.
That's not a bad way to live, Focus on the important things. Yeah,
So then-
Mike, did you...
Go
No,
ahead,
I was
Chris.
going to say, Mike, did you have
Yeah, I just kind of thought of one right now. So let's say, like, given John's question about who would you be your buddy cop, given the totality of your career, including every character you've played, good or bad, you're talking vampire and Buffy, demon and Charmed, everything you could think of. If I had to put a team of 3 protagonists from your film career or TV career, we'll say Stallone, Keaton, and David fucking Hasselhoff, who would you pick as your 3 roles to beat the living shit out of them? If you needed, like, you had to go against those 3 guys, and I said, okay, I'm gonna bring up my 3 guys, and they're all me.
Well, Luther's a comic, but I don't play him like comic. I kind of play him serious, so the other guys can play off me and be funny. I don't try to make him funny, but sometimes things happen that are funny that's another thing about comedy is you don't want to. Those guys are comic. They're
Greg, don't get me
funny.
started. Don't get me started on It's Always Sunny. We're trying to talk about your whole career.
Well, but as far as the I've played some psycho bad guys in some other films. Actually some of the early films I played. It was a film short. I just something about playing these crazy bad guys where you just. I can't name one really. Honestly, it's just I can't remember most of them anyway. I haven't.
I'll take Luther being able to beat up Batman.
Yeah,
straight
well,
up.
I
got
didn't
that.
have any scenes directly with Mike Keaton, which was.
I can believe it though.
And I had just a small little one-line character there where I stole the baby, but the other.
No, but didn't you also? You did a scene with Danny DeVito in the movie, right?
Oh yeah. He was next to me in the makeup chair. It took about hour and a 15-minute me done in makeup. It took him 4 hours.
Well, yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
exactly. That's
Oh,
crazy.
God, yeah.
Every time I was in there, he was off to the right of me.
What was the difference between Batman Returns and It's Always Sunny? Like being,
well, yeah, no, that was a
I mean, I have to ask that.
well, that was Tim Burton was very, an aloof, quiet director, and people kind of scared of him, but it was a genius, But
Yeah.
that was, 5 football, those sets at Universal Studios. They're like 150 yards long and a football field wide, and they go up like 5 stories up into the flies, and they're decked out all the way up, like a city, huge, huge. Yeah, I mean, they brought the penguins in. They had the whole thing, just the whole underground of Gotham, and they had the huge with all the penguins in it, and that took up an entire other warehouse there on the line. And it was just a massive. At that time, it was the most expensive production that had ever been shot when that was done. So just being a part of that,
Oh, wow, I
I
didn't
was
know that.
brought in. There were name actors just trying to get bit roles in that because they knew it was going to be huge. And I just happened to luck out that I had worked for the second unit director, which is the stunt coordinator director. He did all of Clint Eastwood movies and all that, and he was and I had done a lead bad guy, a South American Colombian drug smuggler in a film that he produced. He's the one that actually got me into the union, and I put
Right.
Colombian bad guy, and then I had to audition for Tim Burton, and I guess he couldn't find one of the stunt guys that was able to perform that role as well as Tim Burton liked. So he brought me in, and Tim Burton said, okay. So, and that was a massive thing. Sunny is just, it's a comedy. It's
I'm sorry. I keep bringing that up because that's absolutely my
So,
favorite.
before we change this to It's an Always Sunny only
Yes.
podcast,
Let me quit interrupting.
But Sunny, real quick, Sunny is it's just a great ensemble and people they cast, and it's a whole different dance. I haven't had anything like doing Sunny since the old theater days, where I'd do a comedy or something like that, and just fun every minute.
I it's not to say I don't appreciate your action work because I loved you in Cliffhanger and Stone Cold.
Yeah, that's what I did. Action film. Did a lot of action, and then and also on the series too. They were always, the Walker, the Texas Ranger.
It's just I can so much appreciate your acting style in It's Always Sunny.
I appreciate it.
And I keep trying to not bring it up, but I can't help but to do so.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's I was very happy to get cast. I didn't know. I just thought it was going to be a one-time thing, but they liked what I did that second season on that final episode, and they decided to, instead of making me a mass murderer, they
Right.
so I could get out of prison, and they keep using it.
I mean, I've got one more, and this is more. It's kind of a general Hollywood question stemming from your experience, because you've acted across a lot of different genres, and I guess maybe genres isn't the right word, but platforms, be it like TV movie versus big screen movie versus sitcom versus so maybe genres is the right way to describe it. But is there anything just glaringly different between big screen movie aside, but say from like working on a TV drama versus a soap opera versus a sitcom versus a TV movie, or is production on all of those relatively similar? And
Well, that's a good question, because very different. It's similar in that you're acting and everything, so it's acting. Doesn't matter what you act, but it is different. In the early days, there was just one camera, that big camera, that 35 mil camera, or whatever it is. And it would take longer to film scenes because you just and you had to move it around. It took longer to film the feature films. And if you did a sitcom, you had 5 video cameras across a proscenium stage, and they would all be sectioned on a group of people on the stage, and and you didn't have to rerun it a million times for camera. They'd pick it all up in one take, So I loved doing sitcoms. It was like the old days of doing theater with a live audience, and you did have live audience with the sitcom. So, but as far as the feature film and TV episodics, where you just Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Walker, I'm just all the shows that have been on TV that are the action shows where you got good guys and bad guys, that kind of. Well, I did stuff like Touched by an Angel, things like that too that weren't act shows, but whatever they
Days
take.
of Our Lives.
But shooting is faster. TV generally. The low budget films were fast, but shooting for TV is faster because they got 7 days, 8 days, maybe 9 if the budget allows, to film at 50 minutes for an hour, episodic, not counting commercials, or 48 minutes. And they're moving and they're shooting like 15 pages a day, sometimes 20. Sometimes an action scene and a film can take days to film one fight because of the difficulty of the fight and moving in the cameras and doing it over and over and over again. But you don't have that time for TV. Now, jumping from the episodics on TV to soap operas, that's funny. You get they shoot an hour, 48 minutes a day. So you're getting, 56 pages each day script, and let's say I'm in 20 pages, you get it like the night before or the morning that you arrive. And you got these monologues and all this stuff. And you just, and they don't expect you to have it all. Now, you can't, except those, and I had a good photographic memory in the early years, and I could remember a lot of dialogue, but you just go until somebody blows a line, you back up 2 lines, and then you move forward. There's no retakes. You don't like what you did, screw it up, and then back it up, and basically... And soap operas will make a really great actor look good. It'll make a good actor look average, an average actor look pretty bad, because it's just impossible, that much dialogue, and to shoot it that quickly. And it's just done, and they have multiple cameras, and you just do it once. They don't even rehearse it. Just here's your mark when you say this line. Here's your mark when you're over there. This is you come in the door. Okay, action, and that's it. And they're not going to retake anything. So. You got to be prepared. It's just a different animal with each. You get the feel of how each thing is different. The first time you do it, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. But films generally, they'll spend more time. I mean, when I did, it was Inferno, not a very successful film. It was Jean-Claude Van Damme, but the director who directed Rocky, we'd have these fight scenes, and I'd come in. Fight, I get kicked in the balls, I get swung around the back, and then I get shot with an arrow, and then I fall down on my knees, then onto my face, and I die. But it was awesome.
A typical role for you.
that comes in, a thing like that.
Went through the salt.
I'm going to shoot him, and then he kicks balls, kicks me up like this, leg kick up, take me around. You get shot, arrow comes in, then falling to your knees on hardwood floor a million. Well, basically, we shot it 60 times. That's
Wow.
5, 10. It was 60 times. He wanted to get it so perfect. I'm just blanking on his name. But it's just, he was known for that. And finally, at the very end, I said, you know what, I can't do anymore. And he just, I did stunts, but he wanted me to fall, and he didn't want me cushion it with a shoulder. He wanted me to come down on that floor right on the forehead first. And doing it 60 times over and over, that's how I remember, it's hard work, and the action sequences.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pieces of me left all over the world that I've left all over, not just the country, but the world, doing action sequences. I don't know if I answered the question. I forget what it was.
No, you answered it.
I just wanted to hear you kick somebody's ass. So that's,
Yeah.
I do remember a story you told on another podcast where I don't remember what the actual details, but you were known for being very safe.
Yeah, you have to look out for yourself. I had to learn that very early on.
And there was one actor, you wouldn't name him, a former football player. You're like, he's the only one who I guess grabbed you by the throat or something like that. He did something goofy, and you finally had to just use all 6'4" former, NFL Charger Greg Cummins and be like,
I didn't want to say the name a long time ago, but I will say it since we brought the film up earlier. It was Brian Bosworth.
I knew it.
That's what I thought. See? That's what I thought.
Knew it.
Yeah,
I
don't
never
know
liked
if
him.
he got
Never liked
smarter
him.
and matured over the years, but
I doubt it. Have you
he
seen
was
him?
on
I
an
doubt it.
ego trip. He was on a macho trip. That.
Yeah, until Bo Jackson
Yeah.
ran his ass over.
That's right.
Sorry, I didn't mean
That's
to
why I bought his jersey.
offend anybody if they're friends with Brian Bosworth, but
So he
Bo Jackson ran him over.
He has no friends. No, he has no friends. He has like whoever
no,
he has
maybe
as his
he's
car
changed
dealership,
over the
and
years,
that's it.
but there's two people. Steven Seagal has a very bad reputation. He purposely that he'd say we're going to pay him $5,000 each, get the shot. I'm going to make contact. He'd break a jaw and he'd break a cheekbone, and he
God, but
stunt
there's no
man just
point
to
to
make
it.
it look good, and that's criminal. And for some reason, Brian just thought I got to make it look real, and I'm badass, and so. He'd
Right.
come in with the punch and he'd slick my nose. And I go, man, you don't have to come within a foot of my nose. The camera's behind you. And I'd back up each time. He'd come in with the nose. Well, later in the film, he broke somebody's cheekbone on the beach. Some big bike was
Jeez.
a stuntman biker. And he did a thing that, we're choking me out in the helicopter. And we were just rehearsing, and I just, he's
Yeah.
put forearm right into my Adam's apple. And I was behind the seat. I said, I couldn't talk, and he was pushing in like that. And first take, it wasn't a take; it was just a rehearsal. I said, and then I just waving my arms to the director. I can't even talk. And I said, Brian, you can't do that. You got to put it in the crook here, or if you're going to put the arm there, you can't push in like full force like you're doing light.
Right.
First of all, I can't talk. Second of all, it injures people. I knew he was dangerous. It was the last day of shooting. And we go do this rehearse again for camera, and he pops my Adam Michael out of the side. Adam's apple pops it right over here, and I just and then I just had to put it in, and everything started swelling. My throat's closing off, and I just got really pissed at him. And I remember who the director was. I won't say his name, but it wasn't his fault. He's a stunt coordinator too, and he just couldn't control Brian, and Brian didn't apologize.
That's the thing too. Like you can kind of forgive a little bit in the sense of he doesn't. Yeah, he was new. He's not
people
a stunt
get
guy.
injured even when you're because sometimes you got the energy and thing, and accidents happen.
But if you're routinely hurting people,
but
then there's an issue.
Van Damme broke my nose on the leg kick up after he brought it up and he hit the shin with a full force leg kick with his head down and brought it right to here. And I got a standing TKO. I had blood spouting all over the place, and I was knocked out, but I was still standing. And I woke up on the other side of the room, and blood shooting everywhere. But he like kissed me 200 times in the cheek, apologized.
I love this story.
I mean, for the next 3 days, he could not stop apologizing. That happens, and I didn't hold even an ounce of anger with that, because
well, that makes more sense to me because obviously it's like a collateral damage. So you wanted the scene to look good, but you don't have.
He just got really up, got all like that, and he just kind of
Yeah.
lost. He didn't need to come even within a foot and a half of my head because the camera was over here. If I bring my cameras here, and so if I bring my leg, let's see if I could do this. And
don't try it.
and it's hard to do this. So basically, if I bring my hand up and hit my face,
Right.
you can't tell that I'm a foot half away.
Yeah.
It's like I'm right there. And so if I go
Right. Okay.
well, then you don't need it. But he got a little out of control because he was really pumped up, but that stuff happens. So I didn't. And I've been injured before with other things. Never a problem. Never anybody that did it that didn't care or didn't apologize. That's the thing. It's just and that kind of thing. It was just he just didn't apologize and made some little demeaning comment about not being tough enough or something like yeah.
See, and he's not on It's Always Sunny or Bosch. So you know what?
Did he have his face slid down a mountain by Sylvester Stallone? No, he didn't.
Yeah. Clearly, Hollywood determined which one of you guys was going to
He's got
actually continue.
And it was you.
I don't know I forget what the commercial is, but it's showing he's got some he's lost weight, a little trimmer, and he's playing some sort of sheriff, and it's something I think that he's drinking or something.
Yeah, I'm never gonna buy it.
Whatever
Boycott
it is.
Didn't care what
Whatever it is, I won't buy it.
Yeah, whatever it is. It could be water. I'm never doing it
Won't
again.
drink water again.
It's in children, and maybe he's melted a bit.
I bet you he has.
It's the opposite of like Fred Dreyer, who this is an NFL player, should have been he's all pro, but for the Rams, but he should have been Hall of Fame in my opinion. Strong, tough guy,
totally
good, nice, nice guy, but tough, strong, just a super guy to work with. And we did a bunch of fighting on The Hunter and another series that he did, and he did an independent movie with me as the lead bad guy, and then he did The Return of Hunter with me as the lead bad guy. And we had a bunch of fights together, and he was a professional, he was a pro. You're not playing football. You do it. You make it look like you're. But so he was a great guy and NFL player who was just exactly the opposite: humble, kind, nice.
Well, you would hope. You would hope for that. You'd hope that guy would be very kind, especially when he's that much of a legend on the football field. You're like, I hope he's a good dude.
Very, he was very jealous of my good looks.
Oh yeah, totally.
And I let him know insecure he must feel all the time.
Right.
Really did. And I also told him that the real tough guys in the football field were punters, not
Oh,
defense.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%. Specialists,
Yes,
as we call them.
So
Kick out of-
Greg, I got one last question for you. One of the main themes of our podcast is like celebrating nerddom.
Uh-huh.
Maybe it's movies or trading cards,
Mhm.
maybe teacups, or maybe, Civil War reenactment.
Sure. Yeah.
Personally, I collect baseball cards and memorabilia,
Okay.
especially autographs. But I was curious if you have any niche hobbies or like if you have any niche collecting.
Yeah, not collections.
I was hoping you were going to say I'm a movie star.
He said, I
That's what-
collect
that's-
movies.
That's my hobby.
A
I
lot-
collect
you
movie
guys.
credits.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a lot of pictures of me up around my my home, but
Okay.
but and mirrors, but
Of course, you collect
seriously, I am
Yeah.
geek for, and you think it'd be, but I'm just a film nut. I
Are
love
you?
film.
Okay.
Just a nut. Long before I became an actor, I mean, I would sit in the theater. Remember when Blockbuster in the 90s, and you go
yeah,
rent
of
movies,
course, yeah.
you 2 movies for $5, and I bring it,
Yeah.
and they
Right.
watch them the next night. So every time I wasn't working, I would get for the weekend, I get 2 for Friday night, 2 for Saturday, and then 2 for Sunday. In 2.5 years, I won a free stereo from Blockbuster because I rented 20 free movies in less
Amazing.
This is the best information.
I didn't even know they
Oh,
did
yeah.
that.
I didn't know either.
This
Yeah. So I said they didn't do it when I worked there. I worked
I'm just
there
watching the movie.
about 20 years ago now, and I think it's the only time in my life I ever threatened to take my shoe off and hit someone.
$2.50 a movie, 2,400 movies. I spent about $5,000-$10,000, and
This is the best
But-
piece of
but I
information.
I'd seen all the ones I'd seen over, and then I'll watch them again if I hadn't seen them in maybe 2 or 3 or 5 years. I'll watch something again, but I would try to find all the movies that I hadn't seen that were the great films that with Gene Hackman and
Yeah.
just great actors that did these films, and then Tommy Lee Jones and just there's so many movies that they did that are from the 80s and the 70s, and there's just movies that. So I have a lot of film knowledge. I don't have the music knowledge much, but I have a lot of. I just love watching, and I love
God, okay. What's your favorite one? What's your favorite movie?
Godfather.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to give you my top 5 because it's a personal
Yeah,
thing.
please
Yes.
do. We
And I've thought about this, and I made posts about this on Facebook.
deal in lists.
It's
We deal in lists
Godfather,
here.
Godfather first, second position, Godfather 2. Okay.
Okay, fair enough.
My third used to be Bridge on the River Kwai. It's just something that I always loved. And let me see if I can remember my top 5 because it's changed. And oh, come on, Greg. I mean, I've been saying what my top 5 films are for years, and I'm just like, it's getting muddled because I got my top 5 series, which are
All of yours.
House 1, Breaking Bad 2, 24 3. What's the other one? Homeland 4 and Dexter 5. But those.
Oh, nice.
But I, as far as films, it was always Godfather. What are my other two big ones? They were my Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Cleanest.
Okay. Okay.
I've
Yes.
watched it at least 100 times, and I just connected all with it.
Yes, one of my favorites.
And that last one has been juggled a few times over the years, so it's hard to remember what my last was. I always have a top 5 that I do with movies, and
I love it. Isn't Mandy Patinkin just amazing in
oh yeah,
Homeland?
oh god, and that girl too. I forget her name, but
Claire Danes.
Jesus, the performance, incredible. It was just
Mix.
and I love spy stuff and all that stuff, so that's right up my alley. Yeah, but why can't I remember the fifth one? It's changed over the years. I'm just I'm blanking right now. It's age. I'm losing my brain cells.
Oh shit! What excuse do I have then?
Oh, it's a good one. I'm blanking. But Godfather came up first, and the second one too. They both won Academy Awards, but I love Lawrence of Arabia, certain things like that.
Right.
I remember when some movies came out. I remember when Matrix came out. I went, oh god,
Matrix. The first Matrix was mind
in the
blowing
theater
for sure.
watch it. I was
Yeah.
he was doing that stunt stuff, and I'd never heard that music. And he was doing those somersaults and shooting, and I stood up in the theater going, oh my God, I'd never seen it before. Now that everybody does it.
And that was the first time you got kicked out of the theater, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, at 6'4", they were like,
I
we were
saw
just
it.
going to
I
leave.
along with 2 other people in the theater. I would sneak away to the daytime matinees. I don't like big crowds. I just love going, and I miss going to the movies like I used to. And I do it sometimes now, but I just get lost in a different world for a while. And
Right.
that's the difference from watching at home. You got the phone, you got somebody. Somebody comes in the room.
For a long time there, I forgot how good going to the movies was until I started taking my daughter.
It's magical.
Magical.
It's really special. And my childhood was just, whether it was James Bond or, just all those great movies when I was growing up.
Well, I think, that was the last good question I had. Do you guys...
I guess one of the things I wanted to say, Greg, is about reading your story, hearing the other podcasts, watching a lot of your old movies. There's a thread for your career where no matter what happens, you're constantly going to find your success. I don't remember the exact quote you said, but it resonated, where you weren't going to let any challenge demotivate you or anything like that. You were going to find your success no matter what it ended up looking like. I don't know if the guys read your history, but you were originally supposed to go to the Green Bay Packers. You were sabotaged.
Oh yeah, I read that.
Went to the Chargers, right? And then there's a history where this could have been a very bitter experience, but you obviously took it somewhere else and built a career, an amazing career.
Yeah, I had a couple of years where I had to resettle everything, but I ended up giving in college. I gave up my best sport, which was baseball. So I could have gone that way too. So a lot of could haves. I missed my kind of screwed the pooch in the window for the football. But made a few dumb decisions there, and
yeah, but just like you were saying before, it got you to where you are now. You know what I mean? Which is with us, the Time Pals. But other than that high standard, it got you to have this amazing career.
Well, now that we've had an interview, I can die happy now. So if
don't
it's the cherry on top of that
don't
career.
patronize us,
That's
sir.
right. That's
Sir,
right.
please do not patronize us.
If I die tonight, my life will have meaning now. Because
That
we
warms the cockles.
that's right.
There.
We want to thank you for your time, Greg. Obviously, clearly, we're all huge fans of yours.
Absolutely.
We want to thank Nickel too for getting us in touch with you, because we couldn't have done this without either of you.
Dead Zone
so
Pop
John,
Star.
I don't know if you with John. I mean, he's a big movie guy too. You guys are almost up the same alley. I hope if you ever are bored, you want to come by and talk movies with us. Obviously, we love talking about old films and stuff like that.
Fun for me too. You guys are great, and it's nice to meet you. I've talked with you before, Nickel, but Mike and John, I haven't. It's really great meeting you guys too, and
likewise.
Likewise, absolutely. It was a joy. This was an absolute blast for a Wednesday night. But
Yeah,
it's
right.
still
I did
Wednesday,
not
right?
expect
Holy
to.
shit.
I
Time
did
has
not
no
expect to
meaning.
record as long as we have. Oh my god. So I'll definitely get everything edited together. It's gonna be great. Other than that, I mean, do you have anything you want to plug or anything like that while we have you?
Got Bosch Legacy Season 3 coming out in March on Amazon. But right now
Very
I got
cool.
a little national commercial running, but it's not a big deal. It's just a commercial. But, just looking for the next job and trying to keep breathing every morning, basically.
Hey, that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
For better
Yeah,
or worse,
exactly.
I keep waking up every morning.
That's right. Those are the big
My
wins,
goal
to
is
be
to
real with
wake
you.
up every morning and take it.
Well, so for underscore Nickel and John of the Time Palace, we'll see you next time.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much, sir.
Thank you so
Greg,
much.
I wish you had the best of the rest of your night. Do you ever want to talk to us about? Obviously, we were very loose. We're not super, we clearly ask a lot of crazy ass questions.
Of course. A lot of fun.
Thanks to our partners at Dead Zone Pop Star. Dark streetwear with designer quality and affordable prices. Check out their shop at deadzonepopstar.com and make sure to use code DEAD for 10% off your order at checkout. This code works forever, so you can always look 10% cooler than those kids trying to steal the style that we made cool.